Hey guys, it's me. Today I'm gonna go over doing some square threads on a lathe. It's a little different than doing regular like 60 or 55 degree threads. Most guys don't do them very often because they really never have a need to do them. One thing that I do is old military receivers. This is a model 1917 that's been modified a little bit. Also the 1903 Springfields and the some of the Model 70s, the older Model 70s have square threads on them. So what we're going to do is get started here. I got a piece of just cold rolled 1.25" stock chucked up in the lathe, and I'm going to set up a square thread and just kind of go over some basic threading procedures for doing a square thread. So hang tight and we'll move over and we'll get started. Alrighty, so what I have here is a piece of 1.25" chucked up in my Logan here. And what we're going to do is, we'll see if this will work. Alright, here's my dimensions. My major diameter is 1'120", my minor diameter is 1.062. My thread depth to the shoulder is 800 thousandths, and I'm doing 10 threads per inch. So what I'm going to start out doing first is I'll cut my 800 thousandths to 1'120", and then we can get going on actually cutting the threads. So most of you guys out there that are kind of first starting out probably aren't going to have a bunch of fancy Starrett or Brown & Sharp calipers. So what we got here is a cheapo little, I don't know, this is $30 or something, digital caliper. And I know this is 1.25", but we'll measure it here. I'll get a kind of a pretty rough estimate. 1.227. So I got to take off, what did I say, 1.12, so I got to take off about 100 thousandths yet. So I got my safety glasses on. We'll crank this guy up here. And I'm just cutting this by hand, so I could put my power feet on and give it a nice smooth cut, but some guys might not have a power feed. If you got a really old lathe or a very simple lathe, so you can get a pretty decent cut with just turning it by hand. And I already marked out, I made a light cut here to begin with to get my 800 thousandths. Crank her in a little more and take another cut. I'm taking some pretty light cuts here, so stop and take a measurement here. .188, so I got to go another 60 thousandths. You can see there you can get a pretty good cut if you take your time and go by hand. Like 10. We'll do another 10. Alright, so we'll measure it again here. And we're at 1'150", so we gotta go another 30. Inch 136, so I went 15 thousandths there, and I went, so we'll go another 15. And when you're doing work like this, it's a good idea to kind of work up to your diameter instead of, oh, you know, I need to go 100 thousandths, so I'll just take a, you know, realistically you can't, but I'll just take 100 thousandths cut, and then you take your measurement and you went too far, so if you get, you know, if you got 100 thousandths, maybe you want to go 80. And then, you know, if you hit 80, then you can go down to 10, and if you hit 10, then you can kind of take a couple more cuts and you should be able to get there. Even with lathes with digital readouts, I do that. A lot easier to work up to it because you can't put material back on. So there we're at inch 119, which is close enough. I went a little under, but that's okay. With this is just a demonstration. So, and then once again, like I said, a lot of guys might not have fancy tools, so we're gonna see where we're at here. Pretty close to where I want to be here, so you can make your shoulder a little deeper because you can always cut this back end off. That's not a big deal, which is what I ended up doing here. 808. So what this guy is this is going to be my little threading bit, and I don't have my parting tool, so this is also going to be my little parting tool, but not an actual parting tool, but like a I'll make the relief cut with it. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to use my steady rest here to line my, I'm going to take this out of the way, line my piece up. So I am on the right height. Right there. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that this guy is absolutely square to my piece. So right there it should be square, and what I did was I butted my end up against here and I was flush this way, and then I'm flush this way, so I came up on my trued off end and I just bumped the tool post over a little bit with the carriage. So there, we'll just double check it. That's perfect. That's perfect. Check it up here. That's dead on. Alright. So, what the next step is, I'm going to just turn a little relief cut here. There we go. Okay, we got our 800 thousandths shoulder, we got our inch 120 major diameter, and what we want to do now is set up for a 1 to 10 inch thread. What we have here is our quick change gearbox on this particular lathe. It's a Logan 922 or 1922. So we want to do 10 threads per inch, and that is left hand lever position A. So I'll slide that guy over to A, and then where are we at here? 10. So that's going to be the 1, 2, 3rd from the left. So I'm on the first and the third column here, and so there. So now we're set up to do the 10 threads per inch. Next thing we want to do on our carriage here is set up our threading dial. You just want to put it in there so it just engages. You don't want to jam it in there and tighten it up. So when we turn our lathe on, that guy's going to spin, and I got to run way too fast. Alrighty, so now we're set up to do our threads, but first thing we want to do is, and then I had to run so fast, I want to come over here my belt here, and I'm going to put it on the low speed, and then I'm going to pop the back gear in, pull a bolt in, back gear in, see it, check my speed out. That'll be fine for this. I don't know what that's, 60 or 70, whatever it is. Not very fast. So, okay, 10 threads per inch. So, even that we're on an even number, I believe we can go on any notch or any number. I only got 1 and 2 and 2 separate notches, so let's give it a shot here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 0, and I'm going to I don't have my quick change 0, so I'm going to set my, that is my cross feed, that's set at 70. And this guy, my compound, you're not going to use that because we're square threads, so if you were like you would on a like a 60 or 55 degree thread, if you were doing that on square threads, you would mess your square threads up. So we're just going to be using the compound with this guy. So we're at 70. And we're going to be using the half nut. I'm going to wait till my number comes around. Alright, so I'm going to back out. I'm going to go to 70. Go to 72. And wait for number to come around. I didn't quite get a full scribe there, so hopefully everything's tight, so hopefully everything will... Oop. See, I missed my number there. See, we're starting to get a pretty good thread there. So I'm going to stop it. And where's my pitch gauge? We're going to do a 1 and 10. Everybody likes a 1 and 10. Alright. There, spot on. Alright. So, 72, let's go crank back, go to 70, I don't know, 74. Wait for a number or notch to spin back around. Click it back on. And my tool post is moving a little bit, which sucks, but it seems to be cutting okay. Hopefully I don't smash into nothing. 74. Crank back into 70. We'll go 77. Wait for my number to come around. Or in dash. Woo! I'm cutting 76, that is. 77. Yoink. Sorry, I bumped the camera. 77. We'll go to... Being that these square bits, so 77. We'll go to 79. You don't want to cut a bunch with these square bits because they're cutting a lot of material at once, whereas when you're cutting with those 60 degree or 55 degrees, they're only cutting one side of the thread. That's why you got to set your compound at 29 degrees or 29 and a half, whatever. Alright, so I'm going 2 or 3 thousandths at a time here, and we're getting some good, nice little curl on my cutter. That was 80 thousandths, which is actually 10 thousandths. So we'll go to 82, 83, engage. Get a nice little cut there. So what did I say, 82? We'll do 84. Go back out to 84, then it's to 86. Oop. And see, I just threw my half nut and I wasn't even on a number, so you gotta be careful you don't do that. Alright, so you kind of get the gist of this. What's that, 86? So I'm only in 16 thousandths right now. Oh, 87, 88. Flip it. Woo! Yeah, thing's moving a little bit. Not cool, but I need a new... This isn't a very heavy tool post for this lathe. What did I say, 86? We'll do 87, maybe do a cleanup cut. Yeah, see. Now what we can do there, if we want to stop it, pull it out, flip the half nut and go back. Go to 90, let's go to 93. There we go. Go to 93 and get your fancy little brush here. 5. There we go, now we're back on it. Yoink. -5, -6, -7. So as you can see, this is not a quick process, but it's not overly lengthy process either. So what do we say, 97? 98, 99, we'll go to one Hondo, which is 0. So I'll finish cutting this and then I'll show you guys the finished product. Let me show you guys one cool thing about cutting square threads, which you can't really do with, well, you can, but it's a little more difficult. You can do it with normal threads, but with square threads, say you cut your bit and you cut it just a hair undersized, your little square end there, which I did. I cut it a couple 10,000ths short. So what you can do with square threads, which is kind of cool, and I can do it here now, you go over, line your mark up through your half nut, and you can push your bit in, and then if you want to move over one, which to the right or to the left, to widen your threads up a little bit, you can move your compound in and out. So by moving that compound in and out, that'll move that bit over this way, or if you back it out, it'll move it over this way a little bit, and then you leave that set where it's at, and then you start over cutting your threads again. And then, like you'll see here, I'll set mine back up, and we'll I'm just shaving one side of this off because I'm just taking a little tiny bit off, so I need my threads just a hair wider. So now I'm taking just a little light cut off of one side of that square thread. And then as long as you remember how deep you went with your initial threads, you're good to go. Alright, my camera died, so on to camera 2. Alrighty, so I finished making my cuts, what I think I finished. I think I'm at my right dimensions. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit with a file. Clean this edge off a little bit. One thing I want to mention too, I see a lot of guys, the thing will still be running, they'll stick their thumb or whatever on there, and you know, this thing is running, and they're like, oh, I'm going to feel the finish. I have no clue why people do that. That's so stupid. That's a good way to rip a chunk of skin out of your finger, or rip a thumb off, or even get caught in the lathe, because I've seen a company I used to work for, a guy who was a machinist for 40 years, he did that and ripped his thumb off. So I have no idea why people do that. It's the stupidest thing ever. Don't do that. You know, it may look smooth when it's turning, but when you stop it, it is not smooth sometimes. So don't stick your finger on running pieces of metal in the lathe. That's so stupid. I just don't get why people do that. Alright. So I'm going to back this guy out, and I'm going to test this, see if we're close. Let me see. It's pretty close, and I overcut it a little bit. I know my dimensions are not quite right. You can see that's wobbly. That should be wobbly. And this is just a piece of bar stock. This isn't a barrel. If I was doing a barrel, this would be dead on tight, but this was just a quick demonstration. And then you can see, if you can see here, I got a gap yet, which is no big deal. But we got our square threads there. The receiver screws on. So now what I want to do is, after I, say if this was a barrel and my threads are nice and tight, usually sometimes I get them so tight that I gotta lap them on with some lapping compound. So I can take a measurement here and I can say, well, when you got your bolt in there too, you're going to get your exact measurement, but we'll just say for the purpose of this, we can take this measurement here and cut that off the back end of the barrel, or the piece of steel in this case, and then make it fit a little better. But anyways, this is what I was intending to do with the video anyways, so we'll clean this up a little bit and show you guys what this looks like. These cheapo Chinese brushes work really good for wiping stuff off your lathe, cleaning all the bedways up and everything. Alrighty, so there you can see the square threads, and they're not I didn't clean up the inside of them so they don't look quite as crisp, but you can kind of see down there they're square. So anyways, it's nice and smooth. Like I said, if you're doing, this is just a quick demo on doing square threads. It's this isn't, I'm going to cut this off and redo it, but it's nothing accurate today. I'll do that some other day when I'm doing a barrel or something. Alrighty, there we go. That's doing square threads on a lathe. It's pretty simple. There's not much to it. It's kind of a little bit simpler than doing pitch threads, 60-degree threads or 55-degree threads, or whatever degree threads you want to do. Square threads are fairly simple. You just take a little more time, take lighter cuts. No compound, only the cross feed. And grind your bit right, make sure of that. Inside outside dimensions, major diameter, minor diameter, those are your two main concerns, and they're a lot easier to measure on a square thread because you don't have that pitch, so you don't need wires and all that good stuff, and you don't need a long equation to figure it out in 14 variables, which isn't quite true, but so there you go. Square threads on a turning lathe. Pretty simple, not much to it. Give it a shot, and if you guys like my videos, please feel free to subscribe. I appreciate it. Like it, that's always sweet. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody you want. And till next time, I'll see you later. Thanks.